This is the Tank 4 from 8849. Not the Tank 4 Pro, just the 4 without the Pro next to it. 8849 makes some of the most unique, rugged phones on the market. They recently launched a tablet and a projector, but phones are what they're known for. I've spent the last 3 weeks messing around with it, and here are my thoughts. Ideally, I should just talk about the phone and what it's capable of. But if you have never seen this type of phone before, you may not be able to draw some comparisons. I usually like to compare any phone that I use or review to a similarly spec'd phone or a phone in its price range. There aren't that many phones in this category, so it's appropriate to compare this phone to its predecessor that I have reviewed in the past, the Tank 3 Pro. But before we do that, it's fair to say that the Tank 4 Pro versus Tank 3 Pro would be a better comparison than the Tank 4 versus the Tank 3 Pro. However, the main differences between the Tank 4 and Tank 4 Pro is the internal processor, an extra camera on the back, and a slightly different design for the camping light. Everything else is the same. In the box, you get the phone, of course, some paperwork, and a 66-watt power brick along with its Type-C cable. Let's start with the physical design. The Tank 4 keeps all the handy buttons and accessories from previous generations, plus a few additions. On one side, you have the power button that also acts as a fingerprint scanner and works great. On the other side, you have the volume rocker, a SIM tray with dual nano SIMs and SD card support, and next to that, you have two fully programmable buttons supporting up to 3 actions each. On the back, you have 3 cameras, one of which acts as a true night vision camera with the help of IR lights on the back. You also have a very bright camping light just underneath it. On top, you have a built-in projector. We no longer have the manual focus wheel like you see on the Tank 3 Pro, but instead, we see an autofocus laser module just right next to it. Next to that, you also have an IR blaster to control your TV and other electronics remotely. On the bottom, you have a USB-C 3 port and a headphone jack that are both covered with a little plastic door for extra protection, and the whole phone is IP68 water and dust resistant. The IP68 is absolutely incredible considering the fact that the phone comes with a built-in fan to cool the projector that can also be used independently to cool the phone itself. The screen also got a very much needed upgrade. On the previous models, an LCD screen was used, and although it did the job just fine, it's no match to the new AMOLED display. It has a higher resolution and it gets brighter in sunny conditions. And since this is a big boy, the battery is also 11,600 mAh. The first thing you notice when you pick this phone up is the weight. It has gotten a lot lighter than the previous model, with a weight of 534 grams. That's 24% lighter. Obviously, the weight loss comes from abandoning the 23,800 mAh battery and replacing it with a much smaller 11,600 mAh battery instead. This is a very welcome change in my opinion. The previous model was abnormally heavy, making it difficult to hold on long phone calls and difficult in general to handle with one hand. It's also a lot easier to handle because it's now a lot slimmer. It went from 30mm on the Tank 3 Pro to a 23mm on the Tank 4. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it makes it a lot more easier to grip. In fact, I can almost wrap one hand around it. Overall, it's a lot more easier to handle. You still can't hold it for as long as you would a normal phone. While on the subject of design, the screen bezels have gotten smaller, which is actually one of my favorite changes. It gives the phone a modern look and just looks that much better in my opinion. Moving from LCD to AMOLED makes it physically possible to have smaller bezels, more pixels, brighter image, and better viewing angles. You don't need anyone to tell you this to notice. The AMOLED on the Tank 4 is a lot more pleasing to the eye. Coupled With the 120Hz refresh rate, it's super smooth. On a software level, the Tank 4 comes with an Android 14 in the box, but you can expect an upgrade to Android 15 very soon. The Android experience is similar to the stock Android experience with minimal additions and touches by 8849. You still have a very handy Toolbox app that houses a number of applications and tools that are useful for daily use. In the Tank 3 Pro, I complained about having to use the gesture navigation that I'm not a fan of. That's because the 3-button navigation option has the back key on the left side only, which confused a regular Android user like myself. Now I'm happy to report that they listened to my complaint and actually added an option to switch the layout. It's a small change, but super important to me. I can't tell you how frustrating it was having to rewire my brain and muscle memory to accept the new layout. Despite the 50% drop in battery capacity versus the previous generation, this is easily a 2 days battery life with a 7 to 8 hours screen on time. The new 7300 Dimensity processor and the AMOLED screen helps with the overall performance. I think it's a great balance between performance and weight, and at least in my use case, I'm never not near a charging port of any kind for more than a day, even when traveling on low budget and going through to 2 or more airports at a time. Charging speed-wise on the Tank 4, you only get 66 watt charging speed, which is twice as much as a Samsung or an iPhone, but it's far less than the 120 watts on the Tank 3 and 4 Pro. The actual average charging speed is about 50 watt, and you can expect the phone to fully charge in just 1 hour. Camera-wise, the main shooter is a Samsung 50 megapixels 1/1.3 inch sensor. That's a large sensor for today's standards, which is a big improvement. You do lose one camera on the Tank 3 4 versus the Pro version, but they both use the same sensor for the main camera. The images and videos are decent for stationary shots. I say stationary because there's no OIS on any of the 3 cameras. Provided that you have the right conditions, you can get very usable footage and images. What about the SoC? The biggest compromise on the Tank 4 versus the Tank 3 or 4 Pro is the processor. The Tank 4 comes equipped with the Dimensity 7300, which is a budget chip for mid-tier phones. It can get slow for a power user and an impatient guy like me who likes to power through apps all day long. My job is heavily dependent on using my phone, from phone calls to hotspots to emails while driving through the city. So sometimes it can leave more to be desired from a power level. But it's this processor that makes this phone a lot more affordable without compromising on other important things like the screen and the projector. Speaking of the projector, I left the best to last. The projector, arguably the best selling point on the 8849 phones. That's because they have the best projectors on any phone. Period. The Tank 4 got a resolution upgrade from 480p to 720p. That's the equivalent of HD or high definition. At 100 lumens, the Tank 3 Pro was a media consumption machine. That machine got even better with the Tank 4. From a resolution standpoint, the pixels are barely visible if you care to look for them. I tested it in my bedroom with this contraption here, as I have a flat platform just above my headboard, and I'm absolutely loving it. With a dark room, you forget that this 150-inch screen is projected by a phone. This can easily replace any projector I have because of how easy it is to set up. Just grab it, click this big button here, and you're good to go. The phone is loud enough to watch a movie, for example, but I would highly recommend a Bluetooth speaker if you want to take full advantage of the big screen TV in your pocket. So, who is it really for? Well, in my opinion, it can be used as a travel phone, a backup phone, a media device for someone with small space, or someone who uses their phone extensively during the day with no access to a charging port, like in a construction site, for example. I'm really happy with how far 8849 phones have come. The reduced battery capacity, something that can't be said about any other phone, is a very welcome change. It allows the phone to be a lot more usable without drawing too much attention, or at least not as much as the Tank 3 Pro. You also get the opportunity to save with the Tank 4 at around $420 at the time of posting the video, depending on which platform you buy it from. You get all the bells and whistles you would otherwise find in the much more expensive Tank 4 Pro. Not a bad deal when you consider the fact it comes with its very own portable TV that you can take anywhere. I'll have a link in the description for both, along with some discount codes if you wish to pick one up for yourself. That's the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.